In the landscape where everything is skin tint, serum, foundation, are we ready for some cooler weather and some heavier coverage foundations possibly? Well, Dolce & Gabbana just released 2 new face products, their primer, their foundation, and they claim to be vegan, waterproof, 24-hour wear, blurring, transfer resistant, and a lot of other things. We are going to see if they live up to their claims and if they're right for mature skin. So if that sounds good, stick with me. We're about to get I'm Mona, I'm 54 from South Louisiana, and I love doing foundation reviews. I'm always looking for something that's blurring, that's going to provide a great base for my face and my other makeup products. Smooth out these fine lines and wrinkles. Love things that say blurring. I have some other things in the Everlast collection, and I have enjoyed those products. We're going to see how these hold up. I'm going to pop up the claims so you can see them. I'm also going to pop up the ingredients in case you want to pause the video, take a picture of the ingredients so you can see what's in them. Dolce & Gabbana claim to have things like prickly pear and other natural ingredients that are going to increase moisturization and hydration and do great things for your skin in the trend that is makeup products with skincare ingredients. So we're gonna find out how all that works out. True to fashion, I don't do first impressions. So I've been testing this for a few days. I've worn it with primer, without primer, and with one side primer. I have all my thoughts. So I'm gonna do a demonstration and a wear test today so you can see what I saw over the last week, and then we're gonna do my final thoughts. And while we were putting this through the paces, Gracie definitely helped me test it out in the South Louisiana humidity to see if that water resistant, sweat resistant claim really held, and don't let her opinion of these products influence you. So I have my skincare done and I have my SPF on. Now I do want to share one thing with you. Normally I like lighter coverage foundations. I find that as I've aged that less is more. I don't want things that are going to settle into my fine lines and wrinkles. I don't want things that are going to accentuate my texture or my pores, and I don't want anything that looks cakey or too heavy. However, sometimes there are events, special occasions where I would like a little more coverage, and I would like my imperfections, you know, my hyperpigmentation, my freckles, my redness to be covered a little more than it normally is with a lighter coverage foundation. I wanted to share something with you that's really been helping me with that. That is this product by Aspen K. So I went down the castor oil journey like many of you did, and I really liked the skin benefits that I got with castor oil, but I didn't like the stickiness, so that would keep me from putting it on my face during the day. That made me kind of look into some other oils and natural products to see if I could get that same castor oil hydration glow without the heaviness or the stickiness. Something that wasn't in an oil form that I could wear under my foundation because I have no oil left in my skin naturally. And this is my second bottle of this, so I thought that it was time for me to share it with you. If you have dry skin, super uber dry skin like I do, you might be interested in this. This is Aspen K Naturals. They have an Amazon store, so it's not that you're just getting it from anybody on Amazon. Their Amazon store is available, and it's called Glow Face Oil, and it has turmeric, it has chamomile and rosehip oil in it. So you're getting turmeric for anti-inflammatory, antioxidant properties. You're getting chamomile to soothe and help with my redness. And then I'm getting that rosehip oil for hydration and for a little bit of slip and moisturization underneath my makeup. Without it being too heavy, it doesn't just sit on my skin, it actually absorbs into my skin, and it's a beautiful product for a very affordable price. And it has become a staple in my skincare routine. So after I put that on, then I put my SPF on. It is the last step in my skincare routine before I put on my SPF. Second bottle. So I've really tested it, and I find that it's really making a difference in how my foundation looks. I'm gonna do this for today on camera with primer on this side and no primer on my right side. I want you to see how blurring this is. Now maybe you don't need blurring, that's an individual thing, that everybody uses primer. I like to use a primer because my skin has so many imperfections. I want something like in the form of spackle to be a layer in between my skin and my foundation to keep foundation from settling into those fine lines and not so fine lines, and to kind of glide across the texture it creates a barrier over my skin so that the foundation kind of sits on top of the primer instead of settling in. And it's why I like a heavier primer rather than something that just soaks in. I don't want it to be one with my skin. I want it to provide that barrier. So let's look at this one. So this just comes in one shade. It's kind of an apricot shade. It's definitely dimethicone. Definitely not going anywhere. So if you see me looking slightly to the side, I'm using my mirror. So this is supposed to help your makeup hold on tighter. It says double the staying power, but I don't have a problem with staying power with my makeup usually. I'm more interested in the blur, and I'm more interested in creating that canvas in between my fine lines and the foundation, which has become essential as I've gotten older. So I feel like it really does blur. In fact, I know it blurs. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but there's definitely blurring. And even though this is $54 and it's definitely a high price point, and I do have other blurring primers at a more inexpensive price point that also help, this is actually more affordable than the Huda Beauty blurring primer because, you know, you're still getting your typical 1 fluid ounce like Huda provides. That one, she wants you to do 2 fingers full of that primer. I'm almost out of that primer already. This is going to last a lot longer because you don't need as much. You can use just a little small amount and still get that blurring effect. So you're not going to go through the product nearly as fast. I'm also going to link a video by Des from Beauty by Des. She has a great channel if you haven't seen Des. And she applied in one of her recent videos Huda Beauty's blurring primer underneath her eyes to see if, you know, if it works on your face as a canvas in between. Why can't it work underneath your eyes? Kind of in the same way that the Aquaphor trick does. I've started using my primer there as well. Thank you, Des. So we have the primer on this side, no primer on this side. Let's go in with the foundation. Now I used Light 4C. So that's a light foundation with cool undertones, which is my normal shade. I feel like this ran a little bit light. Either that or I'm just getting darker because of my constant walking of Gracie. I'm so consistent and good at applying my sunscreen every day in the morning, but what I'm not good at is reapplying it during the day. So it says that they recommend using a brush to get seamless coverage. And obviously if you use a brush, you're gonna get heavier coverage. I'm still enjoying my sponge. Remember, I don't do first impressions on my channel, so I've been using this. And I'm getting my best results on me with the sponge. But if you want heavier coverage, you take a denser brush and you're really gonna maximize that coverage. And I'll blur this with a brush on the other side just so you can see. So for me, you know, this is enough coverage. More than enough. I mean, can you see that coverage? A lot of times you'll buy something that says full coverage, but it won't turn out to be full coverage. This is definitely full coverage. It will cover up all your redness, blemishes, freckles, hyperpigmentation. So what do you guys think? If I look in my mirror, what do I see? I definitely see more blurring on the side with the primer, but my two sides are not equal. This side has a whole lot of texture and a whole lot of old acne scars, where this side, not as much. So it feels lightweight on my skin. It does not feel heavy. Now I feel like it's a little bunchy right here, the side I applied with the brush. So I'm gonna take this byoma. This is a balancing face mist full of ceramides and allantoin. I just use it just to kind of sheer out my makeup if I feel like I've gone in a little heavy, because it also rehydrates my skin. So I'm gonna put on the rest of my makeup and I'm gonna take you out into the bright light and we are gonna look and see what it looks like in there, and then we're gonna come back and do my thoughts, then we'll do a check-in, and then we'll do a late night check-in, and then I'll give you my final thoughts that I've had over the period of days that I've worn it. So what are my thoughts initially? I think the coverage is definitely full coverage, has some blurring effect. You can build this coverage up even more, which I would definitely not want to do. This is my ultimate max, and it is definitely transfer resistant. In fact, I can put it on this white dress, and it's not going to get on my clothes. So I think that is fabulous. I'm going to come back in 4 hours. I'm going to come back at the end of the day, and then I'm going to tell you about what my thoughts are in all the conditions that I've used it in, which have been a lot, and I have a lot of thoughts. Okay, it's been 4 hours. For this test that I'm showing you, now keep in mind, this is the last day of my wear test. I've been doing it for a few days now, and I will be inserting some footage of the various days, and I'll have them labeled as to what that is showing. So the wear time is fine, ladies. I'm not having any problems with that. It's not breaking up. It's not coming apart. It's not settling. This is probably not an everyday foundation for me. I feel like it's still a little bit heavier than what I would like, but if you have smoother skin, less imperfections, I would say the coverage is there. I would say it's very pretty. I don't need a powder. We're going to talk about my final thoughts at the end when I show you the wear test at the end of the day, but it's probably not going to be my everyday foundation. What are you thinking? Now I'll tell you one thing. On the days that I did not have this on, it definitely did not look as good. I cannot wear a full coverage foundation without a product like this on my skin. Specifically an oil. I'm not saying it has to be that oil, but that oil happens to be really good for my skin. I'm wanting to try the Merit one because I have a feeling that it will be similar. I've also tried the Clarins Double Serum, and that does the same thing also. It's just that this does it at a fraction of the cost. So why not use the more inexpensive version, right? Okay, I'll see you at the end of the day. So I've been testing this foundation for so long, I almost forgot to do my last check-in for you. But I've been doing check-ins all along, like seeing how it was at the 4-hour mark or 5-hour mark, seeing how it looked at the end of the day. The longest that I've worn it has been about 16 hours. Even at 16 hours, it never did break apart. Now, this is the side with primer. I think that it does look better with primer. It's hard for you to tell because this is my worst side and you can't compare apples to apples. So I switched sides on one of the days and I put the primer on the other side. So instead of putting the primer here, I put the primer here. There's definitely a blurring with the primer. There is also a blurring with the foundation. I think that it holds true to those claims. I think you can definitely get very full coverage with this. I feel like it lives up to all its claims. What I will say is that this will not be my go-to foundation for every day. I wish I could find a full coverage foundation that wouldn't make me feel like it was too heavy at my age, but so far I haven't. Do I think that you need to spend this price for a full coverage foundation? I don't. I think that the L'Oreal Infallible line is really good. They have a matte foundation that is full coverage, and I feel like that one is locked and loaded. I've worn it before for occasions, and it is done fine. I don't think that that has the blurring capabilities that these two products have, and so I will say that that's different. If you are looking for blurring without a powder, then something like this may be a better choice for you. I would say for me that the Huda Beauty is still a better choice for me. It's a lower price point. It did have some blurring, and it didn't have quite the heavy coverage that this did while still offering me some great coverage. So I think for the most part that my happy spot or my sweet spot is somewhere in between. There are no big flaws with this foundation or the primer. I think you get a little more bang for your buck with this primer. So maybe this primer with the Huda Beauty foundation would be the sweet spot. If you're younger, if you have combo skin, if you have oily skin, and your skin is just not quite as dry or textured as mine, you might absolutely love this. I'm not going to be reaching for this one as much. 5 stars for the packaging, 1 star for the price. 5 stars for it living up to its claims. I think that it does. This is something you could wear to an occasion like a wedding, and it's not going to transfer even on white clothes. It's going to withstand a lot of heavy duty conditions, like being outside in the yard, running around like crazy all day. It's not going anywhere. And it's not settling like into this huge crevasse right here. But it's not the most flattering on my textured side. Again, you know, on my non-textured side, my better side, I like it. But I have 2 sides, so unfortunately I have to find the best product that looks good on both. Oily skin women looking for full coverage would like this. I think combo women looking for full coverage would like this. When I moisturize or when I use my oil, this really doesn't look bad. But without this, it would be a no-go. Without this, I had some patchiness right here. I didn't really find that it settled on my dry spots, like it didn't cling to them. What it did is it looked like it just sucked all the moisture out of my skin. So this area right here, these pores, they just were very visible because it just looked so dry. It looked like dry like the Sahara Desert. So you could just see that foundation look like it just magnified them. So with this, that is not happening. And this side looks good. This side, not so good. So I don't know if that was helpful. You can see for yourself what it looks like. Although these are okay, and some people may love them depending on their skin type. Remember, if you love it and I don't, you know, we all have different skin. We all have different preferences. I think at my age, still, for the most part, less is more. And this does not change my mind. So hope you enjoyed the review. Hope it was helpful. I would think that you could get this look for less, in my honest opinion. I do think that this is something that you should consider if you have super dry skin like I do and you're looking for an affordable way to be able to wear heavier foundations or any foundation. It is a great prep before your makeup. The other thing I would suggest is this product by Byoma. This is the Balancing Face Mist. It has triceramide complex and probiotics and allantoin, so it soothes and it restores your moisture barrier. It is good for in the middle of the day touch-ups. I'll put it on a damp beauty sponge and I'll just tap it on if I feel like something's starting to settle or get creasy, or if I feel like I need a little hydration. Usually this is the first step in my skin care. After I wash my face, I just rehydrate with this mist, and I just really, really like it. But I also think it's a great tool for wearing heavier foundations. I can make this work. Just at this price point, I don't really want to make this work. I feel like I could make this work with a less expensive product. I will see you in the next video. I have one that I'm kind of excited about because it's a game changer. It's a game changer in my beauty routine, and I'm hoping you'll be excited about that one too. So I will see you Sunday. Until then, welcome if you're new. Thank you if you're returning. I really appreciate you all. Have a great week.
We'll never know. She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's not